Okay, now you will see where everything is glued down. I did end up with one corner here that was a little bit raised up, so I had to take my wood rasp out and sand it down. So our next step is doing our alignment blocks, and I make them out of hardwood. This is oak, and you'll see I rounded off the ends of them really well, so that when you push the modules together, they go together easier. And what you want to do is you want to make sure these alignment blocks will fit in your notches snug, but not too tight, because if they're too tight, then you have a hard time getting the modules put together. But you definitely want them snug so there's no up and down play. And here's something else you have to check too. You'll see where some of the foam came through when we were gluing down the foam on top. That was the Gorilla Glue. When it turned to foam, it leaked through. But that is my left side, so I don't have to worry about that right now. I've already checked the right side. And right here is where we want to put our mounting blocks. And these are pretty important to pre-drill. You don't necessarily have to countersink them, but you want to pre-drill them, or else you're liable to split your wood pretty good. And what I do, put a little bit of glue on it. And I'm a big time gluer. I like gluing and nailing, or gluing and screwing everything. You know, you put this in like so, and then you want to make sure it stays in tight, but you also want to make sure it stays tight to this outside edge. That's what keeps the modules from going back and forth. This keeps them going up and down. This keeps them from going in and out. So that's nice and snug there. Now you get your drill, line her up, try to hit that block good. Like I said, it's not always necessary to countersink it, but it is absolutely necessary to pre-drill. So, here we go. There we are. That's a nice snug fit right there. So let's go ahead and do the other side. And I already checked these for foam, so I know there's no foam in them. I'll have to clean out the other sides yet. Go ahead and glue them. Put that in. Pre-drill it. There we go. And I'm just using a number 8 by 2 inch screw right here. So this is just 3/4 inch sides on these. Okay, there's the blocks in. Now let's go ahead and get any excess glue off of here so it doesn't get in the way of anything. When we're putting modules together later. There. Now, it's going to take a little while for that to dry. So while that's drying, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my backdrop on. And in our case, this is the front of my module. I've already determined that. The left side holes are left open, and our blocks are on the right hand side. So obviously that makes this the back. So, let's flip her around. Now, our latches that we use require a little bit of space. So I'm going to mark in 3 inches on each side. Gives us enough room for our latches. And I'll grab my square. Take me a nice straight line up here. Okay, there she's squared up. Now I also know that I want to put my 2x2 on the inside of that line. Now here also I'm going to use 2-inch screws. I really don't want to use anything longer. There's my 1.5-inch back pieces. Then you use a 2-inch screw. By the time you sink that in, that's more than enough to go into that 3/4 inch wood. So let's line her up. And I've already calculated that because my backdrop is 11.5 inches high, and these are 3 13/16 thick modules, that I needed to cut these at 13 13/16, so that I would end up with an 11.5 inch tall backdrop. This bit here on this impact is just about where I need to get a new bit. Alright, there's one side in. Let's go ahead and just pre-drill this one. Restart just a little bit, make life a little easier. Alright, that flush at the bottom. Go ahead and put her on our mark. Push out a little. Let's look back up. Let's do her again. There, that's better. That's in a nice good now. Alright, now we need our top piece. Now a module is 34 inches long. So I make my backdrop 33 7/8 so that I have about a 1/16 of an inch to play with on each side. So I'm going to bring that in, use my big square. Bring that in about a 1/16 of an inch. Go ahead and mark that right quick, make sure it stays there. There we are. Let's put a screw down in here. Now here I could use a 3-inch screw if I wanted to, but these 2-inch do a good job. Now let's go over and check this side and make sure we're okay. Good way to do it too. Yeah, and I'm in about a 1/16 of an inch, so that's good. Grab a 2-inch screw. There we are. backdrop is on there. Okay, now because I used 5.5 millimeter Luan, it's not the strongest thing in the world. So what I need to do is I need to put a little brace in the back. Almost makes you want to cuss right there. 5.5 millimeter in SAE terms is 3/16 of an inch. It's the same thickness as Midwest cork roadbed and Woodland Phoenix foam roadbed as well. That's why I use it, because I also use it for roadbed when I need to. Alright, so there's that. Let's turn this bad boy around. And I will just give this a quick mark right there. And mark it on each side. A quick mark there so I know where they are. And I get my loo on. That works good there. Yeah, pretty good. There we go. Got that little bit in each side. Now I like to cheat here. I use a staple gun. But you can glue and screw it too if you want to. Totally up to you. Just 5/8 staples, I think, and they're 1/4 inch crown staples. So there's that part done. Now for filling those little staple holes, I like to use this stuff right here. The LePage's 15-minute speed dry polyfiller works really good. Just put a little bit on your finger, smooth it into the hole. Just like that. And your finger actually works really good as sandpaper too once you get enough on there. I know when I'm crack filling or filling nail holes when I'm doing trim work, painting trim work or whatever, your old finger just gets like sandpaper. Just put that in there like so. And 15 minutes later, this thing is ready to paint. The only time I've ever seen it take longer is if I had a great big hole to fill. But it is kind of nice just to fill up these little staple holes. And if you use screws, it's kind of nice to fill up the screw holes too. This makes the backdrop a little smoother. Cracking the plywood there, so let's go ahead and smooth it out while we're at it. There we are. That's it. Normally, I would run just a little bead of caulk right along here just to seal it, and I would also do any holes on the edge like right here. But because this is all going to be mountains here, it's actually going to be a rock cut, and I'm actually planning on putting a lake here and a waterfall and have it run across the railroad here. But because I am putting the foam on there for the mountains, I'm not going to bother caulking it yet. I'm going to put my foam on first. But we'll go ahead and let that set up, and then it should be ready for painting. Okay, our next step is to install our latches which hold these together. These latches right here, this part is on my jig, and these are the ones here that we're going to install on here. So the first thing we do is we use our jig and we put it on here like so, and we mark our holes. I've already done that because I got the jig in the way, but then you go ahead, we drill it where my little marks are. Just start a little drill. We want to make sure we get these on the mark so they're in the right spot for sure. There we go. Now we take and we get our screws, and I use a 5/8 screw, number 6 by 5/8 screw for this one. We'll get that started on the first mark, and then just to add a little extra to it, I use a 1.5 inch screw where I'm going into the cross piece here, and I screw that in there, screw that one in there. Now I'm lucky, this little impact has a torque adjustment on top, so I can use this for doing the screwing. If you're worried about maybe stripping out the screws, by all means just use a hand screwdriver and you won't have to worry about it. So, anyways, there's one started. Now we'll get the second one started. There, and those latches are installed. So let's go ahead and hook her up here and see if she works good. There we are. Those latches are installed. And this is how we do our electrical current as well. And you can see this holds the jig in here nice and tight, so that all part is all good to go. Now normally I would go ahead and I would install my sub road base right here. I put her in place and get her lined up, and I cut this just slightly less than the 34 inches so I'll have a little bit of a gap at the end so they don't interfere with each other when we do it. And I would check my track on the end, and I would check it for height alignment and all that good stuff. But because right here, there we go, I'm going to have a river here, and I marked out my 2 culverts that are going to go into the roadbed. And there's going to be a river here, and this is the front line of my rock face right here, and this is the road on top. This is going to be a lake, so it's going to come under the road. There's going to be a waterfall, and then another little waterfall, and then down here, and then it's going to go through 2 culverts. But because I'm putting in the culverts, I've got to do those first. So I'm going to go move my roadbed out of the way again. And what I did was, I love repurposing stuff. These are from an old shop vac. They're 1 3/8, I think they were diameter tubes. So I ripped them down to 3/4 of an inch, and then I painted them a kind of a concrete gray. And then I marked them into where they're going to go under the roadbed. So the next thing I have to do is, because I need 3/4 of an inch clearance, I'm going to have to router this out. So, but you'll see here when I'm done, I will be able to see right through the culverts, which will be kind of cool. So let's go ahead and we'll router this out, and then we'll go from there. Okay, you'll see here I decided I needed 7/8 of an inch, so I set my router depth at 7/8 of an inch. So let's go ahead and give this a whirl, and we'll see how it works. This is going to be messy and it's going to be noisy, so we'll just go from here and see what happens.